We may have just been rid of the worst part of Star Wars, and not at a moment too soon.
The following is a world-class Bullshitters exclusive.
Star Wars The High Republic is the massively expensive publishing endeavor from Disney that's apparently not that successful. Since its initial inception, fans were confused by what the High Republic actually was. Of course, they could understand the concept that it was a publishing initiative, but what was the point? It took place in a time with no war, it featured characters like Slate and Ram Jamaram, and Slate was a literal rock, and every character looked like off-brand Star Wars. The High Republic was not hotly anticipated. What has followed has been a level of disappointment not seen ever in the Star Wars franchise. What started off as a billion-dollar advertising initiative for a series of books that would lead Star Wars into the next generation quickly became nothing. And that's what we're about to talk about today. But before we get into that, folks, today's video is brought to you by me, Jeff Hicks, and my graphic novel, Stealing Solo. If you're hungry for good Star Wars content, and I know you are, then Stealing Solo is the book for you. Stealing Solo asks the greatest what-if question of all time. What if a group of disgruntled Star Wars fans kidnap Harrison Ford and force him to remake Star Wars in their basement? That, and a whole lot more, is answered in Stealing Solo, a Captain's Parody. Stealing Solo has been called Laugh Out Loud Funny and the greatest Star Wars parody since Spaceballs, and it's available now for a limited time only. Go to stealingsolo.com, which is powered by Shopify, so you get the reward-winning safety and security, and get yourselves a copy today. Once we sell through this limited backstock, I'm going back to the drawing board to bring you the sequel, which parodies Luke Skywalker's fall from grace, and finally the closing chapter, which I can't wait to get to, Frankenfisher, the Bride of Solo. And yes, it's exactly what you think it is. So folks, the only way to get that is go to stealingsolo.com right now, get yourselves a copy, and enjoy the greatest Star Wars parody since Spaceballs. Thank you to those who have a copy, thank you to those who will get a copy, and for those who were wondering around the world, it'll be available internationally by August 9th. Remember folks, stealingsolo.com. And now, back to the video. A few weeks ago, we dropped a big video about the High Republic and how sales had dropped 95%. Now, normally when something drops 95%, it gets shit-canned right away. A company can't afford those types of losses. But this is Lucasfilm, and, well, Lucasfilm likes to do stupid shit. With only a handful of books to sell over 100,000 units, the High Republic has been a massive embarrassment for the brand. Hell, a multi-pack featuring 4 of the novels sold less than Stealing Solo, the book I'm advertising here on this YouTube channel. And hell, I don't even have $1 billion behind my project. Just a good product and dedicated fans. What can Star Wars say about that? That a Star Wars book set sells about 500 copies. That's an embarrassment. But luckily, the embarrassment won't last very long, as word on the street is the High Republic is going away. And, well, it can't be too soon. A new rumor claims that the Walt Disney Company ordered Lucasfilm to wind down the High Republic publishing initiative. Scooper WDW Pro revealed Disney Lucasfilm Press has apparently been given orders from Disney, not Lucasfilm, but Disney proper, that it's time to wind down the High Republic, and it's time to wind down the young adult novel releases. So, you're telling me that Leox Gaassi and all these wonderful characters weren't that popular? I'm surprised. I'm shocked. Not really. Let's keep on. He continued, I don't know exactly what that means. I don't know if that means immediately the High Republic will cease to get releases, that Phase 3 will be the final phase for the push that they've had. It's been completely unsuccessful about every way you can imagine. We are told, by the way, folks, that the latest issue of the High Republic, and I don't know exactly what that is, we were told that the issue has only moved about 60,000 units in total, which is terrible for Star Wars, WDW Pro added. As for the idea that the High Republic is struggling, novelist Michael Gallagher and Declan Finn on Upstream Stack had noted that the High Republic saw a 90 to 95% drop. That's the video we're talking about, folks. There should be a link in the description, and a title card should be popping up somewhere in here if it already hasn't popped up. So click that and get the full story. Whether or not this rumor is true, it does appear that the High Republic era will continue on outside of the publishing initiative, with the upcoming Acolyte series expected to take place at the end of the High Republic era. Quantic Dream and Lucasfilm also announced Star Wars Eclipse, an upcoming video game in development set to take place in the High Republic era. Well, if that game comes out, it's going to break records for the least amount of copies sold of a Star Wars game. And we're talking about Disney Xfinity too. When the High Republic was first announced, there was a trailer that was made to promote the project. It showed the writers, it showed concept art, but most importantly, it showed this board right here, with the most important aspects that the High Republic had to cover. In terms of the fiction, it had to feel authentically lived in, but it had to have diversity, feelings, relatable characters, and humor. And well, the only funny thing about the High Republic is how poorly it's doing, because look, folks, you can tell what's going to fail a mile away. It's not a stretch to look at some of these things and go, that's not going to work. You gotta remember, Star Wars fans like Star Wars things, and these characters from the High Republic were the furthest thing from Star Wars characters. Added onto the fact that it takes place during an era with no conflict, which it's called Star Wars, but hey, who are we to judge, right? It's not like I know what I'm talking about, or you, or anyone else that's a Star Wars fan. And that's been the big crux of it. Like the image says, it's not pro-war. Well, what's the conflict? Internal struggle between people with weird haircuts? And over here on the other part of the chart, we have representation and diversity. Well, I'm glad they got that part down. They clearly got that done right. You have a Jedi of every color, with every weird haircut, with every binary, non-binary, whatever you want to say. It's all in Star Wars The High Republic. The only thing they don't have is success. And I guess that wasn't very important to Lucasfilm, but it is to Disney. As you've heard over the last few months, Disney has been in a bit of a pickle. Financially, they're in trouble. Bob Iger, the former CEO, has come back to be the current CEO to fix the problems that all of these entertainment companies under the Disney umbrella have caused. And Lucasfilm is no exception to the rule. While they may have produced 2 very successful Star Wars films close to 10 years ago, that is no longer the case. The entire sequel trilogy was massively expensive. The Han Solo prequel was massively expensive and a flop. And Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny as one of the most expensive box office bombs in history. So bad, in fact, that the full figures haven't even been released. According to financial documents released in the UK where the film was shot, the pre-production of the film, shooting, and 1 month of post-production came to $297 million. That doesn't include the rest of the massively expensive CGI bill. So Lucasfilm is not looking too good to Bob Iger right now. Now, of course, there's been talks of them selling off assets, but where does Lucasfilm actually go? It's been 11 years of disappointment. They may have created The Mandalorian or Star Wars Rebels, but everything else has poisoned the well. Every Disney Plus television show is massively expensive, with each season of a show costing tens of millions to hundreds of millions of dollars. A show like Obi-Wan cost $90 million to produce, but a show like Andor cost $25 million per episode to produce. Lucasfilm spends money like it's going out of style, and what's next is The Acolyte. That has all the diversity that Lucasfilm wants. They have a black female Jedi, an Asian Jedi, a gay Jedi, a whatever Jedi. You got it all. But guess what? The audience, the people that actually consume this product, they don't care. They want a good story. They don't care if you're black or white, anything in the middle, gay, straight, whatever in the middle. They just want compelling characters that they can relate to. And the High Republic is created on superficial characteristics that make these characters lack depth. People understand that. The audience is not dumb, especially the Star Wars audience. Science fiction fans in general tend to have a higher IQ than your average pop culture junkie. And that's not to dig on anyone else, but it's statistically proven to be true. And Star Wars fans can see through this bullshit a mile away. So that begs the question, will this massively expensive show, Star Wars The Acolyte, based on the High Republic, be successful? I'm guessing no. When you base a show on a book series that's absolutely hated, and a huge portion of the audience chooses to ignore it, what can you expect? It's not like all of a sudden people are going to sign up for Disney Plus to watch The Acolyte out of the blue. They're not going to watch the trailer and go, oh, this looks intense. There's no war in Star Wars. There's dinosaurs. There's diversity. There's inclusion. There's no battles in space. I mean, every Star Wars show needs a bit of a space battle. Every Star Wars show needs blasters and lightsabers. It's not about the Force and the mythic elements that make Star Wars great. It's a combination of all of it. It's the mythic elements of the Force. It's the lightsaber duels. It's the space battles, the gun battles, the humor, the intrigue, the excitement. All of that is what the High Republic lacks. It's just a bunch of whiny people with bad haircuts standing around in robes bitching about their complicated masters. It's about challenging authority. It's about all the things that the writers that work on this show face in their daily lives, but the people that work on the show or the books or the comics don't really get what makes good fiction. Hell, even one of the most prominent writers, Justina Ireland, talks about how if you don't like my politics, you're not going to like my work. Well, thanks for telling us, lady, because most people ignored your work on the High Republic because most people don't like your ridiculous politics. And it all rolls into this. The people at Lucasfilm aren't hired because they're talented. They're not great like Timothy Zahn or Alan Dean Foster or J.W. Rinsler or anyone that's ever worked on a Star Wars book, fiction or not. No, today they're just people with useless college degrees that can't get work anywhere else. So they somehow use their politics to get to the top of the food chain at Lucasfilm, and then they bring the company down. You think George Lucas would have allowed this shit to go down? I don't think so. You think George Lucas would have gotten on board with this? No, he probably would have laughed these people out of the room or not hired them in the first place. What pisses me off and a lot of people off is the fact that Lucasfilm got rid of the EU for this. This is what they got rid of the EU for, the part of Star Wars that people absolutely loved. When there wasn't a movie to come out, well, there was EU novels to read, and people read those in the hundreds of thousands and millions. The Thrawn trilogy is one of the most successful science fiction trilogies in history. People love those books. Fans were hungry for those to be adapted. What happens when fans want those stories adapted? You get it rolled into Ahsoka. And that's just another massively expensive Star Wars series that people aren't that excited for. As we stated at the beginning of this video, Bob Iger has a budget cut initiative in play. And to save a lot of money, they might just cut Lucasfilm in general. Why would they sell it off? It's not worth as much as they paid for it, and they haven't made that much money from it. They're still hoping that there's a chance in the future, or maybe they can make money off the back catalog. But it would be smart to keep it, but shut it down. Why wouldn't you want to shut it down? All it does is bleed money. It's just a money loser. There's nothing that Lucasfilm is bringing to the table that is successful. Under their new management, they've destroyed Star Wars, they've destroyed Willow, they've destroyed Indiana Jones, they've destroyed the Star Wars book publishing initiative, which, like I said a moment ago, has historically been massively successful. Not anymore. You gotta ask yourself, when will this stop? I say they should stop it right now. There's no money in Star Wars The High Republic. There's no future in Star Wars The High Republic. It's not like they're going to cancel the books, then The Acolyte's going to come out, be a huge hit, and everyone's going to all of a sudden pick up these books and go, wow, I've really been missing out. I know they're banking on that, but that's not going to happen. The books have been out for years. The people have had those at their fingertips, and they're not buying. They were buying the comics initially, but they dropped them. So what else is there left to do? One thing. Cancel it. I can't believe we're actually talking about canceling the Star Wars brand, or maybe just the High Republic, but is there really anything of value left from Star Wars? You Star Wars fans out there, are you excited about it? Do you still watch the movies? Do you wake up and smell the Force in the morning? I don't. I used to. I used to be excited to be a Star Wars fan. Movie year, non-movie year, I would text my friends, we would have fun, we would joke about Star Wars. It's just not cool anymore. It's just not fun. It's just not anything. It's not really worth my time. I used to watch those movies on a regular rotation. Throw Indiana Jones into that as well. But after these bad ones come out, I just lose interest in all of them. It's not like one bad movie and everything else is great. The way they write these films to change the entire saga, tie everything in together, every little beat is referenced in every other movie, I just lose interest across the board. My Star Wars spending has gone from a lot to none. I don't think I purchased anything Star Wars related in a long time. And I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. The best days are behind it, and well, I for one hope this rumor is true and Disney cancels the High Republic. And you know what? I'll take it one step further. I hope Disney shuts down Lucasfilm, for a while anyway, cleans house and tries to start fresh in the future. And hey, can a guy dream? So folks, I want to know what you think about all of this. 3 questions below. 1, have you ever read a High Republic book? 2, what do you think the dumbest part of the High Republic is that you've seen? You don't have to have read the books. And 3, are you interested in the Acolyte? I mean, my obvious answer is, no, I haven't read the books. I think the dumbest thing is Slate, and I'm not excited or interested or anything for the Acolyte. I'm so grateful the show's gonna make sci-fi safe for black nerds. I'm really grateful that people can go outside and be comfortable. It's not like I've ever been to a sci-fi convention where everybody's safe. Oh no, those black nerds, they were under constant threat of stupid shit that actors say. But folks, I'm gonna get out of here. I'll be back next time with more. If you want some good Star Wars content to read Stealing Solo. It's the greatest Star Wars parody since Spaceballs, and it's the greatest what-if story of all time. What if a group of disgruntled Star Wars fans kidnap Harrison Ford and force him to remake Star Wars in their basement? That question and a whole lot more is answered in Stealing Solo, which is available only from me and only at stealingsolo.com. So get yourselves a copy today, and remember folks, stealingsolo.com is powered by Shopify, so you get the award-winning safety and security, and I ship out books all the time. We've had a massive sweep of new sales, so I'm going to ship those out later today. So if you'd like to get your book sent to you today, order yours as soon as this video ends, and we will make sure that happens. Folks, international shipping drops on August 9th. Soon we'll be shipping it to the moon and every other galaxy, far, far away or not. So folks, thank you for watching. I'll be back next time with more, but in the meantime, be smart, be safe, be cool, but always be excellent to each other.